anytime you're ready.
My name is Joseph Couch, Joseph Couch, Chairperson Groney and members of the Education Committee. Thank you for hearing me. I speak today in opposition of LD 73, and I have one simple question for the committee. What makes a motto good? I believe mottos are supposed to inspire people, motivate them, remind them who they are. I tell you that I am inspired, motivated, and I know who I am. I am Joseph Couch. I am an atheist, and I will fight this motto with everything I have, as I would have if I were alive in the 50s. I'm an atheist and an American. Two things this motto says are incompatible. I do not belong to the same we that you do. Yet, I was born here just like you. I live and work here, and I'm willing to lay down my life in service to this nation. But this bill would teach our next generation that my service is worth less because I don't believe in God. But I'm not speaking today solely for myself. I'm speaking for atheists who would be here if they weren't afraid for their livelihoods. That's probably why you saw so many emails that weren't requested for public record. If they were public, their families would kick them out onto the streets. While we aren't Saudi Arabia, who punishes atheism with death, in America, there are consequences for being an atheist. It ranges from social ostracization to abuse or homelessness. But it's not just atheists like me who this bill helps alienate. It's the 43% of Americans who believe in something other than God. Should a motto that, and by the way, if this has been distributed, I have my sources cited. Should a motto that alienates almost half our population really be in every school? Each generation is less and less religious. It's been a trend for decades. If you've ever wondered why kids these days aren't as patriotic, maybe it's because you're telling them they aren't American. Senator Erdman will tell you that this is the will of Nebraska, but it isn't. These religious display bills are a nationwide effort to distort the definition of religious freedom and our nation's history. The self-described Christian nationalist group, Project Blitz, wants to turn religious freedom from the shield it was meant to be into a sword to cut down LGBTQ rights and women and reproductive rights. Finally, some of you may be worried that by killing this bill, you'll be called a godless communist in your next election campaign. I have some good news for you. Voters don't care about your religion, they care about your values. And that is midterm polling from 2018. Show you value inclusion, show you value safe educational environments, and for once, show me a government that values me. I've heard it over and over that our nonpartisan unicameral is a special place. And I agree, but its nonpartisanship is supposed to bring us together. This bill is needless and divisive, just as our pledge, with no sense of irony, bifurcates one nation indivisible. And I would be happy to answer every question that you have asked every other testifier.
Any questions from the committee? So I guess Senator Merman.
If we wouldn't have any reference in the schools to God, but we teach evolution in our schools and other subjects that dispute that there is a God, aren't we teaching a certain belief system as it refers to God?
Senator, people believing in science is not my problem. Science is problems with religion is a religious problem that the church and your priests need to solve themselves. Science itself is secular, it's provable, it belongs in our schools, it's not a religion. Belief and religion, belief can be a little complicated to describe. For instance, like, I believe blue is a color, and that can be shown. We can see the color blue, and we know that it's a color. I can also say, I believe there's a teapot floating in orbit around Mars. I can't prove that. Do those two statements hold the same weight? Certainly not. I can show you the color blue, I can't show you a teapot. So equating anything that we teach in schools to a belief is just not on the same playing field.
I'm sorry, I should have thanked you first for your testimony, but thanks a lot for coming. Okay, so if we don't teach a belief system that's provable in schools, evolution takes a lot of faith to believe in evolution. I mean, there's all kinds of things that Charles Darwin said that if they aren't proven, eventually will disprove his theory of evolution. And all of those things have not happened. So it appears that it takes a lot of faith to believe in something such as evolution.
I'm not a scientist, Senator, but I believe that everything you just said is false, respectfully.
Thank you very much. I'm not a scientist either, but I do think, and I don't see a conflict between science and Christianity.
If I may, if you don't see a conflict between science and Christianity, then shouldn't we also see that same non-conflict between our churches and our schools? We have different places for science and Christianity. Why not keep them where they belong?
We don't keep what we learn in schools only in schools. Hopefully we put that to use in society. I think the same thing is true of our belief or unbelief in God.
I'm sorry, Senator, was that a question?
No, just another statement.
Okay, we can continue this conversation, but I'd like to let the other senators have some questions. If you have anything more specific from me, I'd love to answer it.
Sure, go ahead.
Senator Brewer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Where to begin? All right. And first off, obviously, every bit of my DNA is probably different than yours in what I believe and how I see the world. But as a part of your opening statement, I just want to make it very clear to you, there's a commander on the battlefields in Afghanistan. I never once ever asked whether someone was an atheist, a Christian, Muslim, or anything else. They wore the same uniform. They were asked to do the mission as given by their higher. And so understand that it chews away at us when we have experts come in and all of a sudden assume that we separate people. We don't. We have a mission to do and we go do it. But with that said, and I'm going to go back to this same question because I think it's very telling. These unalienable rights, do they come from God or do they come from man?
They come from man, Senator. And to address your earlier point, I am in the service, and I do think religion does chew at my service. I've been in several formations where I must stand at attention during a prayer. They're allowed to bow their heads, and that erodes the relationship between enlisted and officers. It erodes the chain of command where, sure, we all believe that on the battlefield we will do our duty and we have confidence that we will. But we also know that some of us are considered less than by our government. Not necessarily my captain or my major, but by my government. And then if I die on the battlefield and they give me my flag, that flag represents a nation whose motto is under God, which I would have fought. The motto itself, this is about schools. I don't want kids thinking, I don't want a kid coming to my funeral, seeing that flag and saying, there died a good Christian. They should know that I am equal. I am an atheist and I am equal. But since there are very few atheists in the courts, there are very few atheists elected, we can't fight it anywhere else. This is the only place I can fight it.
Well, I guess all I can say is I hope when they go to my funeral and they see the flag, they just think that I'm a good American.
Me too, Senator.
Any question? I have one. Just a hypothetical. Do you believe in genetics, Senator Brewer?
Yes, sir.
The genetics and following family trees?
Yes, Senator.
If I asked you to prove to me tomorrow that your great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather existed, could you do it?
I would ask you to consult a geneticist.
What?
I would ask you to consult a geneticist. My degree is in mathematics.
No, but you should be able to, you believe you had a great-great-great-great-grandfather, do you not? Can you prove that you had one?
Yes, by being here.
I happen to believe, yes, I'm here because of God. What's the difference between what you just said and what I just said?
Well, sir, if photographs existed 100 years ago,
I didn't ask
mine
you
would be
that.
proven.
Yeah, I didn't ask you that. There's evidence that God existed, because you're sitting there.
Are you saying, Senator, that you don't believe that history can be indicative of truth?
Yes, but I just want you to show me, tell me, and prove that you had a great-great-great-great-grandfather. Physically prove it to me. You believe...
Senator, 100 years ago is in the past. The past is not physically present. I
You
don't
get
think
my
I can
point.
be any more clear.
Point, young man. Thank you. You've been a very good witness, and I don't know your anger towards God or why you even care.
Senator, I am not angry towards God. I apologize for interrupting you, but that is incredibly disrespectful. I cannot be angry at God because I do not believe in him. It's much like saying I'm angry at unicorns.
I guess I don't understand. If somebody told me they worshiped a rubber ducky, I would walk away from him and not worry about it. I wouldn't care.
As would I, Senator.
Well, walk away. Walk away when you see...
Senator, the
trust
difference
God.
is I can't walk away when it's being placed on our schools. I can't walk away when it's in 87 of our courthouses. It's ingrained in our culture. It's ingrained in our government that is supposed to represent me. I can't walk away.
Thank you. Senator Monahan.
Thank you, Chairman Gurney. So, I've been very quiet today, which is unusual, but I do thank you for being here, and I thank you for your service. I appreciate it very
Thank you,
much.
Senator.
So, the Bill of Rights, Article 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. We all hear that a lot. But I don't think we ever pay much attention to the following, what follows that. Or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So I think some of the concern is if we've gone, I understand your concerns. When I was a kid, we sang Christmas carols. It was, I'm sure, probably offensive to somebody. I don't know. I understand that. But do you have any concern that we might be going too far the other way, where if you are Christian or Muslim or Jewish, you have to like hide it in a public school? I mean, I think that's where I don't think the concern is, well, I would like your,
I'm sorry, Senator, to rephrase your question, are you saying that if we didn't have the motto, Christians and Muslims and Jewish people would have to hide their faith, or?
well, I think what I'm asking, do you think, well, we had this, as the first testifier said, situation in Elkhorn, where evidently a principal thought there should be no displays of any kind of thing, Christmas, even though it's all over every store we walk into and maybe overly commercialized, frankly. So, and she was dismissed for that. So I think there's a lot of, would you agree there's a lot of confusion as to what the rules are and where the line should be?
I would agree that there is a lot of confusion. And one thing I think would really clear up the confusion is to simply remain neutral on the issue. The motto, "In God We Trust," has been through the courts and they say it's not religious. And I think that's baloney. And the reason it keeps being litigated and it keeps being pushed by legislatures is because it's so confusing. If we didn't have it as a motto, if we didn't have any words there on the wall, if the wall is blank as it is in here, you're not saying that this room is advocating for atheism. This room is advocating for a government that represents its people. So, in all everywhere you look, if you take a neutral position, it will represent everyone much better than any position that mentions God.
So you don't think we're ever, the government or courts, we're ever tripping close to prohibiting the free exercise thereof? You don't think we've
Not
ever
in the
done that?
next several decades, Senator. The way that the political landscape is now, anyone trying to do what you're suggesting might as well move out of the country and they'll have the same amount of political influence.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Senator Herman.
Have you been following the, I'm not sure what the term for it is, but the approval of the nomination for a federal judgeship in Nebraska, how that's going at all?
I have not, Senator.
Okay.
Is there something I should be?
Yes, the federal judge in Nebraska that's seeking approval has been getting a lot of arguments from, I'm not sure if they're congressmen or senators, because of his Catholic beliefs.
Oh, are you referring to the nominee for Attorney General of the United States?
No,
Oh, sorry.
no, it's probably a similar
Oh,
thing.
okay, sorry. I know what you're talking about now.
But it's because of his Christian beliefs. I think that Christians nowadays are, and you mentioned not in the next several decades that Christians would be discriminated against or something to that effect. I think they're strongly discriminated against right now in our society more than any other belief system, even in America. So I just wanted to make that comment.
To address that, I believe that you might feel Christians are being discriminated against now because this is the first time atheists are speaking up. And to answer so the first time you reach any opposition when you've seen smooth, if you're sailing a boat and there has been no waves, the first trickle of water against the hull is going to sound like a tidal wave. To address, pardon me, what you said initially about the attorney that's being nominated, actually I fail to see how that's relevant to this bill, so we can speak later if you'd like. My phone number's on here and I can tell you my thoughts on that, unless the other committee members would like to hear more about that. I'm sorry, I'm cutting your questions off more than everyone else's. I would be happy to answer it if we'd
Thank you,
like.
but that's fine. He said it was more of a statement than a question. But thank you. Is there any other questions? Thank you, young man. You've handled
Thank you for your
yourself
time.
well. Thank you. Next